Your cybersecurity solution is here. Introducing Pentester's Advanced Cybersecurity Suite. Ready for peace of mind? Try it for free. No credit card required. Pentester.com.
And I go, what are you doing? You know, this kid's around us. You're trying to put him in the trunk of a car. You fronted him 4 ounces of cocaine. What are you, nuts? So I hear you and your brother are big marijuana dealers, and you're moving loads of marijuana all over Manhattan and Brooklyn and everywhere. So John turns around and tells my old man, listen, I'm going to take your son with me. I want to talk to him, and I'll meet you all back at Richie's Cafe. And everybody's like looking like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm thinking, what the hell's he taking me in the car alone with me? You know, like. Welcome, everybody, to Reform Gangsters. My name is Anthony Ruggiano. And if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, check out my Patreon. Membership start at $1. There's a lot of good and new exclusive content on there. And also check out my store, my merch. I got some interesting merchandise, hats and mugs and hoodies, and check Fat Andy t-shirts. So give it a look. So today, I'm going to talk about a story today. I'll try to make it. I'll try to condense it. It takes place in the early '80s. It involves a whole bunch of people, but mainly myself and John Gotti. It's not a story that I'm really proud of, but it happened. It's real and it happens, and it just shows my relationship with these wise guys, even the relationship with my own father. So in the early 1980s, there was this guy named Johnny Gambino. He passed away now. He was married, and he was hanging out with this guy, Louis, whose father was a wise guy with the Colombo family, Vincennes. They had a club on 101st Avenue, a cafe where all Italian guys used to hang out. And Johnny Gambino and this guy, Louis, was selling coke on the down low. And this guy, Louis, who was around us, and they knew he was around us. They even knew this guy, Louis' father, because his father grew up with my father, and his father hung out on 101st Avenue. So Johnny and Louis, they knew where this guy, other Louis with us, was from. And they chose to front this kid, Louis, 4 ounces of cocaine on the down low without coming to us to get an okay, or coming to us for permission, because if they would have came to us and said, listen, your friend Louis wants 4 ounces of coke on us to front him 4 ounces of coke, I would have told them not to do it, because I knew Louis had bad habits. We all have bad habits. And I knew that it might wind up as an issue. And as it wound up, it winds up as an issue. So this guy, Johnny Gambino's partner, Louis, was a crazy kid, dangerous kid. Louis don't pay them. Louis does whatever he does with the 4 ounces. He snorts it, sells some, keeps the money, gambles, whatever he did the money. He never paid 4 ounces. What happens is Johnny and this guy, Louis, try to snatch my friend Louis off the street one day and put him in the trunk of a car to scam. He runs away. He gets away. He runs away. He comes to us. Of course, he tells us the story. So I go to Johnny Gambino, and I told you, because I had a good relationship with Johnny Gambino, not with his partner. I didn't like his partner. His partner was involved in the murder of a friend of mine. I didn't like his father. I didn't like him. I just didn't care for them. So I go to Johnny Gambino, and I go, what are you doing? You know, this kid's around us. You're trying to put him in the trunk of a car. You fronted him 4 ounces of cocaine. What are you, nuts? Without telling us. He goes, well, what's going to be? I said, what's going to be? You're not going to get paid. Where's he going to get money to pay you? The money's gone. The coke is gone. You try to put the kid in the trunk of a car. You can't do shit like that. I said, you're not getting paid. He goes, what the fuck you mean? I said, you're not getting. I said, you want to get paid? Go see John, go see Jeannie, and have them sit us down, and we'll talk about it. And if they say to pay you, I'll pay you. He goes, I can't do that. I says, well, then I can't get you paid. Because now don't forget, all the drugs that are being sold are on the down low. So anyway, he has to forget about it. He's not happy. He forgets about it. Now, John had just become a captain. He had just become a captain at the time. So now, about a week later, we go to Peter Luger's. I wind up at Peter Luger's with him, John Gotti, my old man, Tony Lee, a whole bunch of us, maybe about 7 or 8 of us. We go to Peter Luger's for dinner. And, we're in Peter Luger's, we're drinking, I was drinking then, we're drinking, everybody's getting a little lit up on alcohol. And we're all in Peter Luger's drinking and laughing and eating steak and everything, right? We walk out of Peter Luger's, and out of the clear blue sky, John Gotti turns around to my father and says to my old man, listen, I'm going to take your son back. We're going to Richie's Cafe now, where I had on my mob tour, Richie's Cafe on 101st Avenue. We're going to go. So John turns around and tells my old man, listen, I'm going to take your son with me. I want to talk to him, and I'll meet you all back at Richie's Cafe. And everybody's like looking like, what the fuck? And I'm thinking, what the hell's he taking me alone with me? Now I'm a little lit up on alcohol, and he's a little lit up. We're all a little lit up. We're in Peter Luger's for like 3 hours, drinking and eating, because that's what we used to do. So I get in the car with him, and it's just me and him. He's driving. I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and we pull out, and he looks at me, and he tells me, so I hear you and your brother are big marijuana dealers, and you're moving loads of marijuana all over Manhattan and Brooklyn and everywhere. So I look at him, right? Now, my brother was, but I wasn't. My brother had a major marijuana business, my brother was 40 years ahead of his time. If my brother was around today, he'd be a marijuana multi-millionaire, the way it's legal today. He was way ahead of his time. My brother, very intelligent person, super intelligent. I mean, he put together a network, like he had guys. So he ran, it was his business. Did I make money with it? Yes, I did. I got to pay. He had me on the payroll, but I had no interest in it. I had nothing to say about it. Everybody worked for my brother. I had absolutely nothing to do with it. It was all my brothers. For John to say, you and your brother, someone had to tell him that I was involved in it. So I look at him. Now, Johnny Gambino at the time is trying to get straightened out like the rest of us, right? I look at him and I go, now I'm a little up. I go, and who the fuck told you that, Johnny Gambino? Right? And he looks at me and he says, Johnny Gambino, he goes, listen, I got more informants than the FBI. So I look at him and I go, yeah, well, I'm not one of them. I said, I'm not one of your informants. He goes, yeah, that's right. And he goes, and I said, I was broke that night. Some nights back then I was broke, because I made whatever money I got my hands on, I spent. I was partying like crazy back then. So, and I was and I started blowing coke. Everybody's blowing coke. So he looks at me and I say to him, making a ton of money selling weed. I said, I'm broke. I got no money. I don't even have a nickel in my pocket right now. He goes, yeah, that's because you keep sticking that shit up your nose. He tells me. So I look at him, and now I'm lit up. I'm a little tuned up, right? So I go, sticking shit up my nose. I said, listen, whatever I do behind closed doors is my business. As long as I don't do it in front of you or anybody else, that's my business, right? And, he didn't start cursing at me. He didn't hit me, and we drive. And then, we continue the conversation. Whatever, right? We get to Richie's Cafe. The two of us, we park, we walk in. And my father's already there with Tony Lee. And they're at the bar drinking. John walks up to my old man and says to my old man, your son's broke? Just like that. Now I'm looking, right? And my old man's sitting on the stool and he looks, he goes, my son's broke. So now my father, the gangster and big shot he is, he says, my son will never be broke as long as I'm alive, And, we have a laugh, we order a drink. I want to get the fuck out of there. I want to go. I want to go to the flight. I'm lit up now. When I got back there, and this is I'm not embarrassed about it, but this is how my life was back then. That's why I'm not proud of this story, but it's a story that happened. I want to get the fuck out of there and go get some blow. I'm lit up on alcohol because once that was my pattern, that's what I had to break in my recovery was alcohol always led me to cocaine. Like I couldn't just drink and not do cocaine. Like I tried it so many times and it never worked. So I had to give it all up to recover. So I wanted to go to the flight, but I had no money. But I knew if I got to the flight, I could probably get something anyway, because my friends were there. My little Joe was there. Robert was there. This guy, Louis Jehovah, was there. And they actually had my car. So I call up the flight and I tell them, come and pick me up. I'm by Richie's Cafe. Come and get me, right? So about 15 minutes later, I'm looking out the window. I see the car pull up, right? I see the car pull up in front of Richie's Cafe, but they're not coming in because they don't want to be around John. They're lit up. They don't want to be around John or my own man or anybody. So I say goodbye. Now, I told this a little bit of the story in the past, but this is now I'm giving you the whole story. So I say goodbye to everybody, and I walk out the door. As I get out the door, I hear a voice go, "Wait a minute." Now I'm outside the door, and they could see from the car because I'm outside the door. And John walks up to me, and he hugs me, and he sticks his hand in my pocket, and he goes back in. I'm walking towards the car. I stick my hand in my pocket. I look, and he stuck 5 $100 bills in my pocket. So I put it back in my pocket. I get in the car with little Joe, Robert, and Louis Jehovah. And Louis Jehovah, he was a funny bastard. He died of cancer too, the poor bastard. He was a funny fuck. He tells me, "What just happened?" I go, "What just happened?" I said, "Look, he just stuck 500 in my pocket." They says, "How do you even go around this guy? What's wrong with you?" Now we're driving to the flight, and I tell them the story, what happened in the car. And they're going, "You told them that you do coke behind closed doors. Are you crazy?" But you know what? I'm saying, what am I going to lie? I mean, the guy knows what I'm doing. I mean, everybody knows what everybody else is doing, right? So anyway, we go to the flight. Of course, I bought cocaine with some of the money. I drank away. I went home with none of the 500. I mean, that's the embarrassing part of the story. Like the 500 was spent on coke, alcohol, a hotel room to get lit, with girls, the whole gamut that comes along with that lifestyle. I went home with none of the 500, like a scumbag, About 3 days later, I run into Vinny Gotti, John Gotti's kid brother. And he tells me, "Did you lose your mind?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You admitted to my brother Junior," because they used to call John Gotti Junior, because he's the real Junior, not Junior. Senior is the Junior. He goes, "You told my brother Junior that you do coke?" I go, "Vinny, I'm not going to lie to the guy. I mean, what do you want me to tell you?" He accused me, he called me out on it, and I told him, "Yeah, behind closed doors, it's not anything." He goes, "What are you, fucking crazy? I would never admit it," because he did coke. He goes, "I would never admit it." I go, "All right." But I think those are the things, as crazy as it sounds, and as some people might say I'm full of shit, I think those are the things that helped my relationship with him, because he knew I was honest with him, and I don't know, the relationship I had with these people, I felt safe enough and secure enough, and maybe I was a little drunk, to tell them the truth, in that car ride back to Richie's Cafe, that was the that was the beginning of my, what I think that was the beginning of when the coke started becoming an issue with me in the early 80s till, I got clean in the late 80s. But that's just a little story that I have. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm here, still alive, so I must have been doing something right. If you enjoy my show, please join my Patreon, ask your questions live, and please join my Patreon at reformgangsters.com.
You had been straightened out in the 70s. Do you think that would have brought some discipline in your life and rescued your addiction in the 80s?
I think if I would have got straightened out when the books were opened, only two things. I would have only been able to go up. Only two things would happen. Either it would have kept me on the straight and narrow because I was made and I had, or I would have got myself in a lot of trouble, maybe even killed. And I think that's what Buddy's fear was. I think Buddy, Neil's son, that's what his fear was.
Hi. Good
Hi.
morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm okay.
I was just curious. I know from everything you've talked about that you had a pretty tight group that you ran with, but I was just wondering if there was somebody that your father warned you about or told you, I don't want you to be around this person or anything like that. And then I was also wondering if you knew Ray DeMeo's son, Albert.
No, my father really never told me to stay away from anybody. He just told me to be careful. But he never told me to stay away from anybody. He would tell some people that I would run with to not get me in trouble. Like Tommy DeSimone, for instance, and we all know who he is. He would come to my father's bar in Brooklyn called Bulldogs in the early 70s to meet this guy, Paulie G, that they were friends with. They used to go out clubbing together. And he would ask me if I wanted to go out with them. And I would say, yeah, of course. And my father would tell him, don't get my son in any trouble. And he would say, laugh, no, of course not, Andy, but my father never personally told me to stay away from anybody. No, I didn't know Roy DeMeo's son. I knew Roy DeMeo, but I didn't know his son.
Well, am I?
Yep. Hey, what's up, Pasquale?
Hey, what's up, Roach? How are you, bro?
I'm
So
all
you
right.
knew Donnie Tafaro, right?
Of course I did. I was in Schuylkill with him for 5 years.
Donnie was really good friends with my father. I remember
yeah?
my father was on the land. Donnie was always around. Donnie Tafaro from the Bronx.
Yeah, from the Bronx. Yeah, big heroin dealer. Yeah.
Yeah, he was my father.
Yeah, I was in Schuylkill.
All right. So
Matter of fact, he used to
that.
cook for us every night. I ate dinner with him every night for years.
He died 10 years ago. He came out and
Who,
he got
Donnie died?
MS. Yeah, he came out of prison. I was supposed to meet up with him, and he got really sick. And he died fucking in like 2012.
Wow. After doing all that time, he did about 30 years.
The 30,
What a shame.
he got pinched right after my father. My father was in the car with him on election day, 1980. They grabbed my father and they asked my father who Donnie was. He said, "Oh, he just picked me up for a ride." And then he got pinched in 82.
Yeah.
You know?
I was with him. I was with him for 5 years in Schuylkill.
Yeah, because he was in Lewisburg for
years. Yes, but when he left Lewisburg, he came to Schuylkill.
Yeah. Did you know his son?
I met his son. I met his daughters. I met his whole family in a visiting room. I met his son. I met his grandson. I met his daughters from his second, with his girlfriend.
His ex-wife, Pat, the blonde.
No, I never met I never met his first. I never met his son's mother, but I met the girl's mother. Yeah, the daughter's
her name
mother.
Was Pat. She was a blonde.
I don't remember her name, but I met her. Yeah.
All right. So cool. So you know him. Yeah. Donnie was a good guy.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming on to the Reformed Gangsters. Don't forget, if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, check out the Patreon. A lot of exclusive content. I just did a story that I never told before that's going to be up on Patreon soon. Check it out. And also check out my store. Check out my merch. And have a good day.